All right. Well, I'm super, super excited, super delighted, really, to share this project with you. It's something really, really special, and it's happening on the Cardano blockchain. It's happening within the Cardano ecosystem. It's called FlickTo, sometimes called FlickTo Media, but we'll just call it FlickTo for the video today. And this is really, really cool. Just like Cardano and blockchain technology allows us to be our own bank, FlickTo allows us to be our own movie studio. That's right, you and I can become movie producers, deciding which projects get funded and having exposure to some of the profits of those movies and films and TV shows if they end up being successful. Have you ever wanted to be Steven Spielberg for a day? Well, the idea is with FlickTo Media, you can, and you can help fund projects that otherwise might not be able to get funding. These are movie, TV, internet streaming show projects. Okay, so let's jump in. As you can see here, become a media producer and be rewarded with passive income from the projects that you vote to be funded. This is all part of the DeMe revolution, the decentralized media. So you guys know about DeFi, decentralized finance. This is DeMe. I think it's DeMe. It might be Deem, but I'm going with DeMe. Decentralized media revolution. FlickTo is happening on Cardano. It's a Cardano-powered community media incubator. And so if you're familiar with something like Y Combinator or Techstars, these are startup accelerators, startup incubators, you could call them. Well, this one here is a Cardano media incubator. The idea is to have a bunch of film and TV and internet streaming projects apply to FlickTo for funding. And if you own the Flick token, which is the official token of FlickTo Media, of the FlickTo project, you'll be able to vote on which projects get funding. And when those projects turn out to be successful, you'll get a percentage share of the profits. So let's scroll down a little bit. I want to tell you a little bit more. Why FlickTo? Why should I trust this project? Why should I get involved? So they've got a section here on their website. Actually, let's pause a minute. Their website is flickto.io, FlickTo.io. You can see their Twitter profile as well, at FlickTo Media. At FlickTo Media here. So that's how I found them, just first by Twitter, at FlickTo Media. And then their website is flickto.io. And I will say, I've become a bit of an ambassador for them. So that, this particular video isn't paid for, but they're sponsoring the channel. They're supporting me more generally. And so in full disclosure, I do have a relationship with FlickTo Media. And, I think hopefully a lot of other content creators will as well. Some might already have those relationships because they're all about content creators and community and content creation. And so I'm very happy to be working with FlickTo. And so let's jump into it. Why FlickTo? Why should I care? Well, it's an open project, okay? So the idea is that the Flick holders, not the project team, not the Flick team, but the Flick holders, you and I, that own the Flick token, we will decide which projects receive funding. And so that's kind of similar to the Catalyst model, right? The Cardano Catalyst model, where the community can vote for blockchain projects to get funded. Well, here, Flick holders will be able to vote for movies, TVs, and internet shows to get funding. So that's pretty cool. But also, they have a whole platform. I'll show it to you. It's pretty cool. In the platform, you can actually interact with the content creators directly. You can receive project updates on how their content creation is going, how their project is developing, and then you can collaborate with them more than ever before. Imagine kind of being on set there with Steven Spielberg and all these other superstars, and you're able to ask them questions, maybe even give some suggestions. That's the idea. It's a project built on openness and collaboration with the content creators. Now, as well, you'll get financial rewards, right? So it's not just this novelty of being able to talk to the movie producers or the movie creators, but you'll actually get financial rewards. There are incentives. And so they talk about how the Flick token holders will be able to stake their Flick to earn more Flick. So they do have a staking pool. It's FLICK, the Flick staking pool, where you can stake Cardano ADA to get Flick. But you're also going to be able to stake your Flick to get Flick. And then you can also earn Flick token by voting on projects. So if you have time, they have a really cool platform where a bunch of projects have already applied. There's a whole bunch, I think over a dozen maybe, of projects that have already applied for funding. And when you vote on which project you want to support, you can earn Flick through that activity. And as I mentioned as well, if the project ends up being financially successful, you'll have distribution rewards. So you'll have kind of profit sharing with the projects that are successful. So that's pretty cool. That's a whole bunch of rewards there. And then another really important pillar on the Why FlickTo section here is trust. And so the FlickTo project is backed by an English registered, so a British corporation, FlickTo Limited. Okay, so they're fully licensed, fully registered, and they'll be regulated, which is pretty cool. And so this combines the project's public leadership and it gives accountability. Actually, most of the team is doxed. We'll show you that a little bit later. And so yeah, they're very transparent. They're out in the open. I know that several other team members have been on video interviews on YouTube with their cameras on and everything. And so fully transparent, regulated, and licensed, registered even British corporation. So really cool to see that. They're taking this very seriously. Now we've talked a lot about the Flick token. There's actually three reasons in total, I think, three main features for FlickTo that make it interesting. And we're going to scroll down to that section now. And I think one of the biggest things is that the project funding is chosen by us, the users. I want to repeat that one more time. The whole idea is that you and I, by owning Flick, are able to vote on which project, which movie, which TV show we want to see get made, and they will get funding. Okay, and so the idea is they're going to fund films, TV, and internet streaming shows that currently have no access to funding or finance. So that's pretty cool. I think it could create a much more diverse kind of entertainment landscape by having the community decide what gets funded. So it's no longer kind of the big cats up in the Hollywood studios, but just you and I can decide what TV shows are going to get made. That's pretty cool, and that's the ethos of decentralized media. Now, they also talk about how, as I mentioned, the Flick token holders, you and I, will get distribution profits, but we're not exposed to any risk if the project fails, right? So we're not giving them our Flick token. The Flick token is counting as voting power, but we're keeping our Flick token. So if the project fails or something, there's no real loss there, except for maybe opportunity loss because it didn't succeed. So I think that's pretty good. I was happy to see that, but even more so, it's powered by Cardano. So this is all happening on the Cardano blockchain, on the Cardano ledger. Indeed, their stake pool, the Flick stake pool, FLICK, is happening. It's a Cardano stake pool. And who owns Flick token? That whole ledger is all stored in the public transparently on Cardano. So they've chosen Cardano, which is all about openness and community and trust and kind of enabling access, diversity, equity, inclusion. That's part of the Cardano ethos. And so I love that FlickTo has chosen Cardano as their blockchain to make things happen. And then finally, the Flick token itself is the third kind of main feature of FlickTo Media, and this is what enables us to vote, right? So I've said it a couple times. The Flick token is the utility token for the FlickTo platform, enabling users to vote on the projects that interest them the most. And then Flick is going to be listed on DEXs and CXs. So decentralized exchanges and centralized exchanges will have Flick token listed. So you'll have an off-ramp to ADA if you want to trade it for ADA, or even to fiat potentially if you want to get US dollars or some other currency. If it's on the DEXs and the CEXs, then you'll have that flexibility so that if the Flick token takes off, you can maybe take some off the table. So that's pretty cool. Very cool. Scrolling up just a little bit more in this first kind of introductory overview section, I wanted to jump up to a little bit more around why Flick. Why should I buy this Flick token? Well, the Flick token allows you to vote on media projects that you want to see funded. And you don't have to lock your Flick token or sacrifice your Flick token like some of these other blockchains. Each Flick is basically just like voting power the way ADA works for Cardano Catalyst. By voting on projects, you receive Flick and ADA rewards. So that's really important to know. The more you vote, the more chances you have to win more Flick. You get paid Flick just for voting. How cool is that? And then also you'll get distribution royalties, which I imagine could be in Flick or in ADA. So they're specifically calling out Flick and ADA rewards. I'm not sure if both Flick and ADA will be given for voting, or maybe just Flick for voting and ADA for royalties. We'll see. But I think that's pretty cool. You don't have to lock or do anything like that. The more Flick you have, the more Flick you earn. That's kind of cool. Flick grants the holder early access to high utility NFT airdrops. So they're talking about airdropping some NFTs to holders of the Flick token. And then Flick will be able to be staked. So you can, if you want to stake it and earn kind of more rewards, you'll be able to stake Flick. Now you can also stake ADA with them. Their stake pool is FLICK, Flick. Oh. But you're going to be able to stake Flick as well. And so one more time, Flick enables anyone to become a media investor while taking power away from the large media conglomerates, right? For the first time in Cardano's history, the community you and I get to decide what content appears on our screens and be rewarded financially for doing so. How cool is that? For the first time in Cardano's history, maybe for the first time in planet Earth's history, the community gets to decide what content appears on their screen. We're going to get to fund some really cool projects and support some really cool teams, and we'll be rewarded not just financially, but also with really good content. That's super, super cool. And so this is a summary of why Flick, why the Flick token, and this is all a brief overview of their website at flick2.io. Once again, Twitter is at FlickToMedia. I'm going to grab a glass of water, and then we're going to jump into their white paper. So you can go from the website here, up in the header, there's a link to the white paper. By clicking that, you'll come to this page here where you can see just another overview of the benefits of FlickTo, but also a really cool section down here for content creators. So if you're a content creator, go ahead and click white paper in the header and give these bullet points a read. We're actually going to go over them again a little bit later in the video, but what I want to do is read the white paper. I'm going to walk you through just quickly, maybe 5 minutes or so, some of the big major cool things happening in the white paper. You can just click where it says clicking here, and that'll open for you. And you'll be brought to this document here. So I've just got it open in Google Docs. This is the FlickTo white paper. It's a Cardano-powered media project incubator. Now, one of the things I want to call out to get started is the introduction here. It actually comes before the table of contents, which is kind of cool. You can think of this as the prologue of the project. And they talk about how it's time for society to have decentralized media. That's that term once again, DeMe, decentralized media. It's time, it's arrived with FlickTo. So I thought that was really, really cool. And I wanted to talk about how it's all happening on Cardano. And so there's a table of contents here. We won't go through all of these sections, but I actually want to start with the why Cardano section, just like they have here. And they talk about why Cardano is the most logical choice for FlickTo. And there's two main pillars they have here. The first one is staking. And so the idea here is they're going to use Cardano's staking mechanism in order to raise funds. And so when you stake your ADA to one of the Flick stake pools, I think their margin is like 99%. And so, they take all of the ADA rewards. You keep your ADA principal, so you're not losing your original ADA, but all of the interest, all of the staking rewards goes to the Flick project. But in turn, you get the Flick token. And so you're trading your ADA rewards, your interest, for the Flick token, but then you're also going to maybe get some NFTs. They talk about how NFTs produced by projects being funded by FlickTo might be given to people who stake to the Flick stake pools. So that's pretty cool. You're not only going to get Flick token, but also maybe a chance at some NFTs, or maybe everybody will get an NFT. And so I thought that was pretty cool. And I love how they call out that staking in Cardano is non-custodial. What that means is when you stake to any stake pool, you're not actually transferring your ADA to them. The ADA stays in your wallet. So it's very risk-free in terms of like losing your original ADA. And so if you're interested, definitely check out the Flick stake pool. It's FLICK. You can see it here, FLICK. I know a lot of you are currently staked to TIM1. That's the stake pool for the channel, TIM1. But if for any reason you're not and you want to do something different, you've got the Flick stake pool, FLICK, as another option. Another reason why they chose Cardano, though, is our rich native token support. This is a big advantage of Cardano over something like Ethereum, where every native token has to be wrapped in a contract, and it's a big mess. For us, these tokens are first-class citizens right there at the root of the blockchain. And so they talk about how this is ideal for FlickTo because they plan to start financing projects and rewarding users while they're getting their smart contract and DeMe functionality off the ground. So they've actually built a platform on their website where you're going to be able to vote on which project gets funded. But in due time, all of that voting is going to happen on chain. So at the beginning, it's going to be off-chain on the FlickTo website platform, but then later they want to migrate to a completely decentralized on-chain model, and that's even easier to do on Cardano versus the other blockchains. So big shout out. I love it when the projects tell us why they chose Cardano. We're obviously big fans of Cardano on this channel, and so I love that this is right here, right at the beginning of their white paper. So one really important section that I want to jump to is where they talk about the problems with the current film industry. I want to walk you through a couple of these. The first one they call out is that the current film industry is an oligopoly. That means there's just a handful of studios, a handful of companies that are getting all of the profits and all of the benefits from the movie business and from the film industry more generally. So they talk about how today film distribution is handled by a small number of companies, and then the smaller and lesser known businesses, they just don't last long due to rivalry and the fierce competition from the larger entrenched oligopolists. And so they also talk about how there's limited funding opportunities. And this is where I think FlickTo and Decentralized Media can really, really help. The major studios are really invested in storylines. And we've seen that with like so many like sequential Marvel movies. And I feel like there's like somehow less creativity when we do Marvel #7 or Marvel #8. I'm not hating on Marvel. I love the brand. I love the Marvel universe. But I think if we can get more independent filmmakers, we'll have more diversity and creativity potentially. And so because filmmakers have to kind of stay within the lines, their freedom of expression right now is limited. If you want to do a big blockbuster film, there's certain things you can do, but certain things you really can't do. And so you end up with a lot of standardized films. And so they talk about how film producers must either make an independent film on a low budget or seek aid from crowdsourcing. And even if the film is completed, it's difficult to be profitable because of the film's limited budget. And we'll talk about that actually. I want to jump down to the budget issue. Even if the film is created, right, and it's won a bunch of awards at international film festivals, and it's already finished, there's still a huge challenge in having the film getting distributed. You have to kind of bargain within your country to find film distributors and then to have some success there, to find an international, global film distributor. And so it seems like it's a real challenge, even after the movie is all made and even after it's started to win at international film festivals, they're still not out of the woods yet. It's still not a success. It's still very challenging. And then also there's the revenue problem. They talk about how, except for film festivals, it's very hard to have your movie screened in a theater. And it's a really good point here that they talk about how, YouTube and the internet has made it really easy for us to gain access to videos. Like we don't have to go outside. We can just watch films and movies at our home. But it's still very centralized, right? How many of us are only watching movies on Netflix or maybe YouTube or Hulu or like Disney Plus, just a handful of platforms? It's very centralized. And so I love the idea of decentralized media, decentralized funding, where you and I can choose which projects get funded. Let's help these projects. Let's help these teams that have really creative ideas, but just don't have a good distribution channel, or maybe they just need a little bit more to get the film made in the first place. So some major issues here with the current film industry. It's an oligopoly. There's limited funding opportunities for very creative filmmakers. There's a huge revenue problem gaining access to movie theaters if you want to do a screening there. And then there's really an issue with film distribution. Even though we're not mailing VHS and DVD tapes, we have the wonderful internet to help us, but because of the centralized nature, it hasn't been disrupted yet. And so let's hope that FlickTo can help us kind of disrupt the oligopoly and even the digital oligopoly with Netflix and YouTube and maybe one or two others. And so what is the solution then? Well, if you scroll down to the very next slide, they've got the solution section of the white paper here. And the solution is decentralized media, DeMe. Decentralized media, just like DeFi, decentralized finance, is the solution to this kind of oligopoly, to this kind of the rich get richer issue in Hollywood and Bollywood and some of these other kind of film capitals of the world. And so they talk about how DeMe, decentralized media, is a relatively new notion where media companies are open source entities under the management of stakeholders such as artists, customers, that's you and me, and intermediaries. Okay, so we are kind of stakeholders, we are beneficiaries, we are part of the process in a very real way. DeMe's mission is to create open source platforms that give people control over their data in addition to the sponsored and consumed media initiatives. So it's power to the people, right? It's letting us choose which projects get funded. We can interact with the projects on various platforms, maybe give some feedback, and then we have direct kind of exposure to any financial rewards that come out of a successful project. So a lot of really cool stuff here around their solution, and in a nutshell, it is decentralized media, it is DeMe, I think they have a really good shot. And as a content creator myself, as someone who's producing internet streaming shows several times per week, I love the idea of DeMe. How cool would it be for you guys to help drive the agenda for the channel, the direction of the channel? Maybe I know some of you guys missed the 2D Timmy. Maybe there could be a vote, right? How many times per month do we do 2D Timmy? Something like that. I'm doing the Gauntlet show with Jay Crypto every Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, and we're eager to hear from you guys. What projects do you want us to invite? What NFT projects should we be talking about? What DeFi projects on the Gauntlet? And so, we're trying to canvas the power of the community. We're trying to empower all of you to help with the Gauntlet and me as well with my own show here on Cardano Ecosystem News. And I love the idea of decentralized media and kind of, many brains are better than one. So this next section is really, really important. We've just finished telling you all about decentralized media and the solution generally, but now why FlickTo? Why is FlickTo going to be successful in getting us to where we want to be? Well, FlickTo describes themselves as a media incubator, and that means that they're going to be providing startups and early stage media projects with the support and resources that less fortunate creators find difficult to access. And this might be, you might have a brilliant film creator who just doesn't have a network. He doesn't know a ton of producers in Hollywood or movie agents. They don't have that network, but FlickTo is going to empower them and fund them through their decentralized media platform. FlickTo's network of experts have experience on every stage of producing content, from pre-production to distribution. And this is something I actually want to spend a second on. The FlickTo Media is not here just to fund movies getting created. They're not just going to be paying for the original movie production, it's also distribution, which is such a huge, huge part. I think they've talked about having actual distribution on their platform, so if you're holding FlickTo, you'll be able to watch some of these films for free or at reduced pricing on the FlickTo platform itself. But then also, they're going to help these projects get distribution, help make networking and connections to get these projects out. It's not just like the media incubator helps them get the film made, and when the final cut is rendered, it's game over. No, they're going to help and support these projects much longer into the future. So what exactly do they provide as an incubator? Well, they say here that they can outsource studio facilities. Okay, so they have partnerships and they have basically give access to those studio facilities to new creators who do not have space to create their content. So for certain types of content, you need very, very large open areas to get, all the audio technology in there. Maybe if you're doing any kind of green screening, virtual production. Virtual production is increasingly becoming an affordable way to make a movie. You don't actually have to travel on set. The Mandalorian did a lot of amazing, cool stuff with virtual production and with green screens. Which are actually not green anymore, but I guess that's the easiest way to explain them. So they're going to be able to give creators and project teams access to these studio facilities. How cool is that? They've also got networking opportunities. So within the FlickTo Media Incubator, you'll be able to discuss ideas with other SMEs. So they describe them as small, medium enterprises, but I think also subject matter experts, right? Which might have been what they meant here, or maybe both, right? There might actually be, small companies that can help you with your film production that you'll be able to network with, but also subject matter experts that are part of the incubator alongside with you, and entrepreneurs, and get access to FlickTo's network of experts themselves. So FlickTo has many people on their team that have experience on every stage of producing content, from pre-production all the way to distribution. So FlickTo is also going to give you investment opportunities. FlickTo itself will frequently provide seed cash, as well as other investment opportunities to new projects, and workshops. Education is a big part of the story here. FlickTo is going to be giving you access to knowledgeable mentors and advisors, and this means that there's going to be many opportunities to grow your professional network, but also your core fundamental knowledge base through these workshops. And then reduce pricing. FlickTo can offer lower rates on production resources and professional services, such as accountants, lawyers, and that's beautiful to see, right? All kinds of partnerships you could imagine FlickTo getting set up with studios, with maybe prop manufacturers, costume manufacturers, but also back office type of things like accountants, lawyers, and these types of things as well. Very, very cool. And now the last part of the white paper I want to show you, this is the dollars and the cents of it all. What does this mean for you and I? How can we actually benefit? And it's pretty cool, what they're talking about doing here. They're described this section as distribution royalties, and these are ADA rewards paid out as a percentage share of total project distribution royalties, right? So you're going to get ADA rewards, part of the distribution royalties, with a large share awarded to those that voted on that project. And so that's pretty cool, a larger share, let's say, not a large share necessarily, but basically if you voted on a project, you'll have more share of the distribution profits. And so it sounds like even if you didn't vote on that project, as long as you own the Flick token, you're still going to get some of the distribution profits, and so you'll get some exposure that way. So that's super, super cool. It incentivizes people to vote and vote on the best projects, but also it sounds like even if you're not super active in there, every week voting, you're still going to have some exposure. And they walk through like a couple of different models, and one thing they call out is that in Hollywood and the movie industry, the film industry, let's say, screenwriters get as low as 2% of the final profits. They say that distribution agents, operation staff, sales agents, and the production houses themselves take the majority of the pie, not the project team. This is the production house, the studio, the rendering companies. And so the screenwriters get as low as 2%. How terrible is that? And so they walk through a couple of options. Basically, option 1 and 2 are where FlickTo is operating as more of a hands-off model, and then option 3, they're quite hands-on. And you can see what they're talking about doing in terms of percentages. So option 1, this is where FlickTo have come in at the producer level, so they're providing initial investment, but then they're mostly hands-off, and they're only asking 5 to 10%. And the creator, the actual film team, the content creator gets 45 to 55%, and then the community, you and I, we get a huge chunk too, though. That's pretty wild, 35 to 40%. So people that own the Flick token and that are voting could get 35 to 40% in this model. Now, there's another model where FlickTo is maybe taking a little bit more. Maybe they're a little bit more involved, but clearly the creator and the community have a lot more. The creator now is 35 to 45%, and community 30 to 40%. So even in this model where FlickTo is taking a little bit more, they're still getting a lot less than the creator and the community. But take a look at option 3, because I think a lot of projects might decide to kind of configure themselves this way. And this is where FlickTo has a really hands-on approach in the incubation period. And so some things they might do is to help find discounts on warehouses, or to create some marketing efforts, or maybe even to create the domain name and the website and help with all of that. Right, all of these things, let's keep the film team on set, on location, working on their creative project, and FlickTo is handling things like domain, website, maybe even marketing, maybe even warehousing. And so their share here goes up to 15 to 25%, but they're still getting less than the creator and less than the community. In this share here, actually, us in the community get the same as the creator, 25 to 35% of the proceeds. So how cool is that? I think that's pretty humble. I think, in the largest scenario here, FlickTo has 25%, but then in option 1, they're potentially as low as only 5% to FlickTo. So that doesn't seem too greedy. And so, yeah, I wanted to share that distribution royalties. And let me slowly scroll up here so that no one gets shocked. But I want to go back to the table of contents. This is their white paper. You can find it on their website, FlickTo.io. But I just want to show you their table of contents has a bunch of other stuff we didn't cover. I'm just scrolling through to show you beautiful, beautiful white paper. But you can see there's all kinds of stuff here. There's more details on the voting mechanics. Is it easy to get back up? I probably shouldn't have clicked. They've got a brand ambassador program, School of Flick, which is really, really cool. There's more details here on their initial stake pool offering. The Flick tokenomics is all in here, and more detail on the FlickTo team itself. And so you can kind of come in here and learn more about who is on the team in their white paper. And I think a lot of this is also on their page as well. So there you go. That is the FlickTo white paper. Once again, just head to their website. When you land on FlickTo.io and you click white paper up here, you'll be able to click this clicking here button and get access to their white paper. So what if you're actually a content creator? If you're actually thinking of making a film, or maybe you're thinking of making a TV show or some other kind of internet streaming show. Well, if you come to the FlickTo Media website and click white paper, I was surprised to find that when you scroll down here, there's a section for content creators. And this talks about some of the benefits that we can get as content creators or film creators, TV show creators. So they talk about how, let me zoom in a little bit. You'll gain access to project and production funding. You'll gain insights and feedback from the community. So they actually have a platform where Flick holders, people that are part of the FlickTo project, can give you feedback. You'll get support in creation and distribution of your project and other project artifacts. So maybe you want to create an NFT for your film, or an NFT for your internet streaming show. Or maybe you want to help creating trailers, right? Maybe you want to release the trailers on the blockchain. They're going to be able to help you with all of that, which is really, really cool. You'll be able to engage with a global, diverse community, right? We all know Hollywood is in LA. Bollywood, I think, is in India somewhere. Not sure exactly where. But since this is all happening on the internet, it's happening on FlickTo's platform and on the Cardano blockchain, it's organically global and diverse. You'll also be able to get support from experienced production companies and other partners. They talk about partnering with warehouses and all kinds of production companies, and potentially you could get discounts on some of that. And if you want, you'll get a direct distribution platform. So maybe you're happy just releasing on YouTube, but they call out that in order to monetize YouTube, you need to have 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 viewing hours. So it's actually really hard to to first get added to the YouTube partner program. It takes a few months. But they're going to have their own distribution platform here on FlickTo FlickTo Media and maybe elsewhere. And so they can help you actually get your project out into the world. So I thought that was pretty cool. Nice section, kind of hidden down here. There's some of this in their white paper, to be fair. But if you just want to find it, just click the white paper link in the header of their website. If I scroll down here in the white paper section, scroll down under benefits of FlickTo, they've got for content creators. And so if you like what I'm laying down, if you are a content creator and you wanna kind of get involved, you want to see if maybe you can get some funding for your project and kind of get added to this FlickTo platform, what you can do is they've actually got a big button here, submit a project. You can see it in their header here. If you're on their webpage, you'll see it up here in the header. When you click submit a project, it takes you to a form, a typed form here. So basically just a simple online form. And they'll ask you a few questions. First you'll have to give some GDPR consent because they are a British registered company. And then they'll ask you for things like your name. And there's a bunch of other questions. I haven't gone through it yet myself, but it seems really well done. I love the FlickTo branding here that they've done. It seems like they've been quite thoughtful with the application form. But I was looking at their white paper, and this is probably a little bit older now, but they used to have some of the application form questions in their white paper here under how to apply and submit media projects. And so they had kind of a snapshot at what some of the questions are. So for stage 1, they want to know your name and your email, certainly. If you have a YouTube or an Instagram, they want to know that. But then they ask you, are you making a film, or are you doing a short form video, or like a series, right? And so they'll ask you to kind of describe your idea, describe what experience you have, like do you have any experience or maybe some education? What's your motivation? Have you got any other funding? Have you applied for any other incubators or funding sources? And so the white paper has a snapshot of the questions, and they actually invite you, if you want to answer, you can actually just record your answers if you don't want to type them out, which is kind of cool. They say you can create an unlisted video on YouTube. But this is before. This is before they had the online form. So I would actually just give this a quick read if you're interested, but the best thing to do is to go to their website at flickto.io, click submit a project, and just go through the form process here. It says it only takes 7 minutes or so, and you could be on your way to getting a project funded. They say that they're funding film, TV series, internet streaming shows, right? And so I would just give it a shot. All right, so enough beating around the bush, enough of an introduction and overview. Let's actually check this out. They've actually got an early version, a beta version really, of the FlickTo media platform available on their website. And so if you go to flickto.io, at the very top, you'll see a launch beta app button here, right next to the white paper button down here. So clicking launch beta app will take you to this page. This is kind of the home page where you can see some news, right? It's like a dashboard. What are some of the new films that have been added? You'll see some tweets from them here once that gets integrated, as well as some news around the stake pool. So it looks like they've actually just increased their rewards to their stake pool delegators. So that's kind of cool. Now, in order to see the projects, you're going to have to register. It's totally free to do so. I went ahead and registered. They're using multi-factor authentication, which is pretty cool. Go ahead and do that. It's actually really good to learn how to do that if you have never done it. So just go through their full registration process. And once you've done that, you can click projects here. And now I'm looking at all of the projects that have registered and applied for funding through FlickTo. And so you can see this one here, 26 steps. It's a feature film. You can kind of hover over the image here. Kind of cool. Is that a Winnebago type of van here on the open desert road? How romantic is that? And you can see their budget is $170,000, right? $169,000. And when you click here, it'll expand so you can get more detail. The director's name is there. You can see it's going to be a drama, comedy movie. And sometimes they'll have the cast listed there as well. Now, they don't have the trailers hooked up yet. Some projects will have trailers, some won't, of course, if it's very early. But eventually you'll have trailers here. And then I was taking a look at this one. I just love the cover on this one. How trippy is that? A trip elsewhere. During the peak of the 2020 pandemic, 4 troubled strangers are catapulted into a shared psychedelic dream after ingesting a record-breaking dose of LSD. I think we call that a heroic dose. So a heroic dose of LSD during the pandemic, and now they must find solace and redemption before they can return to the real world. Wow. Is that LSD or is that maybe DMT? I don't know. That sounds pretty intense. If you click for project detail, you can see they've already got a cast lined up. They got the supporting actors and actresses there, the lead actor and actresses. Very, very cool. Genre, psychedelic film. Let's go. So very, very cool. J.R. Sorers as the director. And, a humble budget, $95,000. So less than 6 figures on this one. So you can scroll down and see those are feature films, but down here you've got a short film, only with a $2,700 budget. Wow, how cool is that? It's a media project. Let's see what kind of info. We've got the director's name there. It's a thriller horror movie. Okay, that makes sense. Sometimes those are often done in like one location, right? In a house or something like this. So maybe they can do that on that budget. Trappers, very cool. But then you've got a documentary down here as well. So a few different genres, right? This is a documentary about greed and corruption in Mexico. So that could be really, really interesting. Charles O'Brien, and then they've got some cast here: Billy Kemp and Maria Arrieta. So these are some of the projects that they have on their platform. And on April 15th, right, later this week, we're going to be able to vote. So launching opens on April 15th. And so I imagine you're going to be able to come in here and vote on which of these projects you think should get funded. And then there'll be an NFT section here where I think the idea is that some of these projects might be able to create NFTs. And I think FlickTo is going to help them with creating NFTs, maybe with the minting process. And then they could be here, and maybe some of the NFTs will get airdropped for free to Flick holders, or maybe you can use your Flick to purchase NFTs. I'd love to see them maybe do that, kind of create a little bit more utility for the Flick token. And how cool would it be to have like a trip elsewhere NFT, right? This is all about like a psychedelic heroic dose of LSD taking you into another realm. Imagine the NFTs that could come out of that project, or this other horror project. Where was it? Was it Unfrozen? No. Where was the horror one? It might have been this one here. Text me when you get home. Oh, wow, that does sound like a horror project already. So yeah, that looks and sounds scary. I could imagine some pretty cool NFTs coming out of that one as well. So really eager to see what happens with the NFT section here. And voting opens on April 15th. Wow. I think there's already a couple that stand out to me. A trip elsewhere is getting my vote. And this one here, text me when you get home. Wow. Interesting. Oh, parties. Okay, parties. Yeah, that's very good. Safety with parties. Ah, okay. Yeah, this is getting my vote for sure. The more I learn, the more interested I get. Yeah, I want to support this. Two shady figures in an alleyway. Okay, so there you go. This is their platform. Go to their website, click Launch Beta App to check it all out. Go ahead and register for free. It's super cool. And it's all happening on Cardano. Oh, man, how cool is that? All right, and so as we get ready to wrap up in about 5 minutes or so, our first deep dive on this really cool FlickTo project, all about decentralized media, DeMe. I want to call out a few of the other pages, a bit more content we have on their website. We've got their partnerships page, as well as their press page, and then I'll show you their team as well, which is fully doxed. And I think that'll wrap it up for our video today. They've got some pretty cool partners, though. Check out MuesliSwap, right? We're big fans of them. MuesliSwap started out slow, but they're taking over the leading order book style DEX right now on Cardano, and they have a strategic partnership with FlickTo. So that's very cool. And actually, the Flick token is already listed on MuesliSwap. And so if you're already getting Flick token, you already have an off ramp into ADA or some of the other pairs if you want to trade some of that out to take some off the table. They've also got a partnership with Bazooka Bunny. And I just love the name. Bazooka Bunny is a production and visual effects company with 80 years of experience. Wow. Are those cat years or Who-Man years? How do you get 80 years of experience in the movie making industry? Very cool. That's got to be impressive. That's got to be a small cohort of people with that much experience in movies. But Bazooka Bunny will provide access to new solutions and giving services to the projects that partner with the FlickTo platform. They've also partnered with the stakepool.5. This is a Spanish-based stake pool, and so they're going to help FlickTo translate a lot of their content and information into Spanish and other languages so that they can kind of have distribution as wide as possible. They've partnered with Vi Finance. So it says here, if you stake your ViFi, you can earn Flick tokens on the ViFi decentralized DEX. They've also partnered with ADAX. This is a centralized exchange. Now, they do have a DEX, but they initially came out with a centralized exchange in January, and FlickTo partnered with them to host their first ever public sale. And then, of course, Kick.io helped with that initial public sale as well. So some pretty impressive partners there. Bazooka Bunny, MuesliSwap, Vi Finance, ADAX. I mean, these are household names. We've covered them on the channel before, except Bazooka Bunny, of course. But that's an impressive list of partners. They're picking the right people. They've also had a bunch of press already, even though like they're still just kind of getting ready to launch. They've been in investing.com was the big one that stood out to me. This is, a bit more of a mainstream publication, and I could totally see something like FlickTo really going mainstream. You're going to see FlickTo in all kinds of media that aren't related to blockchain and aren't even related to finance. finance, right? Of course, all the kinds of film and movie media are going to be talking about FlickTo, which will kind of give more exposure to Cardano, right? So let's celebrate this project, celebrate this team, and all of the new eyes it's going to bring onto the Cardano blockchain and ecosystem. Very, very cool. Jumping over to the team page now. As I said, they're fully doxed. You can see them all here. You've got Rob Knight, Cam Stevens. I won't name them all. There's my buddy Sid. I've been talking to Sid quite a bit. Very, very friendly, very, very smart guy. Thank you for responding super fast whenever I needed some questions answered. But also you've got, head of biz dev here, head of marketing, and then the core team downstairs, blockchain engineers. You've got platform engineers. Everybody's here. A lot of creatives, a lot of marketing people. So it's a fully rounded out team. Media producer, very, very cool. Director of photography there, and videography, and Samuel. What a beautiful team. They're all docs. They got links to their LinkedIn profiles, their Instagrams, on and on and on. This is what you want to see. I'm increasingly gaining confidence in this team. Love that they're registered, as an English, as a British company. And then you've got all their socials down here as well. So a lot on FlickTo today, and there's so much more under the covers that we didn't cover. There's a lot in the white paper we didn't cover, and then there's a lot around like the ISPO. Go ahead and read about that on their website here. You can learn more. Actually, I'll tell you, if you want to learn more until I do the next video, it might be a few weeks until we do the next one, but go to the blog, and they've been prolific in writing blog content. You can see here, 3 days ago, they had a blog post. 5 days ago, a blog post. 6 days ago, March 31st. They're doing maybe 2 or 3 blog posts per week here, and some of them are really, really cool. I really like this one, more rewards given to their stake pool. That's pretty cool. But also this one, how does FlickTo promote gender diversity? So DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, is very, very, very important to me. And so I love that they've kind of got this on their radar. This is part of their ethos. And so, yeah, I mean, I can totally imagine, like, if you think about some of the famous movie producers, a lot of them, the directors and the producers seem to be mostly, men. And so I love this idea of kind of getting some more diversity in there. You can read more about that on their blog. Okay, let's go ahead and call it here because I don't want to overwhelm everybody. This has been a deep dive on FlickTo Media. The website is FlickTo, FlickTo.io, or just follow them on Twitter. Their Twitter is at FlickTo Media. Let's zoom in there, make it super clear. You can follow them there, and then that'll link you to their website and all the other links that you need there. So there it is. I hope you've enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments. What do you think? Is this something pretty cool? It's a totally different project, right? It's not NFTs. It's not DeFi. What's going to be next, right? What's the other kind of new sector that's going to be coming to Cardano? I welcome FlickTo. I hope we all welcome FlickTo, and I wish the most success for this team and this project. Meow.